I mean, we have a Carolina blue sky. We had a men's basketball victory against Miami a little bit ago. So it doesn't get much better than this. You know, what an amazing Saturday in Chapel Hill, and I hope you all are soaking up the energy. So as I said, I'm Vice President of Community here at Morehead-Cain. The community team is responsible for strengthening the ways that our alumni community engage with each other, with the program, and with our scholar community. It's an amazing community to be a part of. We have 3,400, more than 3,400 living alumni that span 8 decades, that span industries and fields and interests. We're in dozens of countries and 49 of the 50 U.S. states. Can anybody guess which state we don't have an alumnus living in? North Dakota. It is North Dakota. So if any of you have aspirations of moving to North Dakota one day, please let us know. I'm joking. Our community is remarkable, and one of the amazing things that I want you all to take away from this panel and this weekend is that Morehead-Cain is not just a 4-year program. Okay, it is entry into a community, and it is a lifelong journey. So let me repeat that: Morehead-Cain is not just a 4-year program; it is a lifelong journey. You will spend exponentially more years as alumni than you will as part of the scholar community. And it's an incredible community, and one that I'm privileged to be a part of and share the stage with others that are part of that community as well. And so we have several of our 3,400 alumni here on stage and in the crowd as well. And I'd love to lead a panel discussion in which they can share some of their experiences as Morehead-Cain scholars and Morehead-Cain alumni. And then after about 45 minutes, we'll have something what we call our human library. Sprinkled throughout the crowd right now are other members of our alumni community, all from diverse sets of industries and fields and backgrounds, and I hope you'll take the opportunity to get to know them. I'm going to do some quick introductions of our members on stage and in the crowd. Because of time, I'm not going to be able to do their biographies justice. So I hope you'll take the time to get to know them. You know, thinking back to Chris's speech yesterday during the welcome, they are not only impressive, they are impactful, and they are not only successful, but they're significant. And we're so thankful to have them here with us today. So I'll start with Dr. Ned Sharpless, class of 1988. Dr. Sharpless is a physician, scientist, and biotech entrepreneur and former federal official serving as the director of the National Cancer Institute from 2017 to 2022, and as the acting commissioner of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration in 2019. And prior to government, Dr. Sharpless was a distinguished professor of medicine and director of the Lineberger Comprehensive Cancer Center here at UNC. Marina Carricker, class of 03, is the president of Diveplane Corporation, whose mission is to keep humanity in artificial intelligence. She graduated from UVA Law and began her career in private practice representing technology companies. Andy Pike. Andy currently serves as the managing director for Capital One, leading their commercial mortgage-backed securities work. While at UNC, Andy majored in econ with a minor in business administration. Ivana Devine, class of 22. She's a technical writer in the information engineering department of NetApp, a data infrastructure company. Her experience with creative workshopping, nonprofit work, and project management enable her to tackle challenges in the writing space, including the widespread use of AI in corporate writing. And then last but not least, Ray Sawyer and his lovely daughter, Penelope. UNC class of 2013. You're 2013. What's Penelope?
Whenever she gets ready.
There we go. Ray's the director of community health at Well, a health improvement company, and he leads strategy and execution to driving more equitable availability of the health platform in communities. He's also worked at Google, and before that completed a Fulbright program in South Korea. And fun fact about Ray, Ray was the final member of his family to complete a 17-year stretch of a Sawyer always being in the UNC marching band. Is that correct? So there we go. Awesome. And then for those sprinkled throughout, I'm going to read your bio, and if you could just stand up and wave, that'd be amazing. Dr. Charlene Wong, class of 04, right back there. Charlene has served as the senior advisor for health strategy to the director at the CDC and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, with priority focus areas of supporting young families, mental health, and overdose, and readiness and response. Charlene was also previously on the faculty of Duke University and is a primary care pediatrician. Agnes Owete, class of 2020. Since graduation, Agnes attended the Perelman School of Medicine at the University of Pennsylvania and is currently an ophthalmology resident at the Duke University Eye Care Center in Durham. Agnes grew up living overseas and attending international schools in 5 different countries, passionate about providing compassionate and holistic care while increasing access to high-quality ophthalmic surgery in low-resource settings around the world. Where's Bill Bamberger, class of 79, right next to Agnes. So Bill is an award-winning photographer and photojournalist whose work explores large cultural and social issues of our time. Bill's been widely published in photography journals such as Aperture and other publications such as Harper's, Esquire, New York Times Magazine. Currently teaches at a school down the road called Duke at their Center for Documentary Studies. Great to have you here, Bill. David Barron. Is David here yet? All right, we'll hold on David. Who else? Josh Lee, class of 04. Thanks for being here, Josh. So Josh is a 5th-generation farmer turned public school teacher, started Green Top Farms, a farm-to-table catering service in New York, and is passionate about food justice and supporting local farmers. In addition, Josh coaches wrestling in the Bronx and is part of the team behind the award-winning documentary Lucha, the documentary you'll all watch tonight at the Blue Zone, an inside look at the Taft High School women's wrestling team. Having seen the documentary, I think you guys are in for a real treat tonight. It's incredible, and thank you for being here, Josh. Madhu Vulamiri, class of 14. There's Madhu. So Madhu is recently been named the Senior Advisor for Health and Families Policy for North Carolina Governor Josh Stein. In this role, she advises Governor Stein on issues related to health policy and issues impacting children and families in North Carolina. Prior to that, Madhu spent 7 years in the State Department of Health and Human Services, graduated from UNC with a Bachelor of Science in Public Health in Health Policy and Management. Thanks, Madhu. And then Alex Carson, class of 14. Alex received his PhD in classical studies from Duke in 2023, currently teaches in the classical studies department at Duke as well. And a fun fact about Alex, currently curls as part of the Triangle Curling Club. So whether it's classical studies or curling, Alex is your guy. And also, fun fact, Mother and Alex are married. So there you go. Shayna Fulton, class of 98. Class of 98. Shayna is a partner at Brooks Pearson Raleigh, where she represents businesses and individuals in criminal and civil litigation under government investigation. She's previously served as an assistant U.S. attorney and has recently had the honor. Let's all say goodbye to Penelope. Bye, Penelope. Penelope, can you wave to the crowd? As I was saying, so Shayna previously served as an assistant U.S. attorney and has recently had the honor of serving on Governor Stein's transition team. And lastly, Janora McDuffie. There's Janora. So Janora is an actress, voiceover artist. You may recognize her voice from yesterday's awesome welcome video. And speaker, she's appeared on hit shows like NCIS, This Is Us, and Grey's Anatomy. Janora currently serves on the boards of the Morehead-Cain Scholarship Fund and the Carolina Pride Alumni Network. And in 2023 was honored with the Harvey E. Beach Outstanding Alumni Award. So I'm so grateful for all of our alumni here today. I'd love to start with a question for Ivana as our youngest member of the panel. You are the least removed of all from final selection weekend. What's a memory you have of your experience, and how did it influence your decision to become a Morehead-Cain Scholar?
Yeah, well, happy to be the first to be picked on. So it's interesting you mentioned community earlier, and community is something that's very important to me and something that I always look for. And I remember the final night before we left, so I think it was Saturday night, I'm bad with dates, there was kind of this tradition that everyone would gather in the lobby and like talk after everything was done. One thing about me, I appreciate a bedtime. So I was ready to go to sleep. It was like 2 in the morning. I was in my PJ bottoms. I was like, oh, what's... And I remember there were other finalists who convinced me to come out and walk and get insomnia with them and just hang out and talk. And that moment for me was actually the moment that sold the program, because you obviously hear about the wonderful resources, you hear about the opportunities and the support, but the idea that you'd be able to connect with so many people and that they would encourage you to connect and want you to connect was something that was really important to me. And that was kind of the moment where I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll take it if they offer. I don't know. And here I am.
Here you are. Thank you for that. Dr. Sharpless, you've served in various leadership roles across the health and medical fields since you've graduated. Can you recount interaction or experience from your journey as a Morehead-Cain scholar or alumnus that maybe set you on a certain course or altered your trajectory?
Yeah, no, I think going to Carolina as a Morehead led me to go to Carolina Medical School, which then led me to, having an MD is sort of an entry degree that allows you to do lots of things. So other than just take care of patients, which is fun and good, but I actually decided to do some other things with my career. And I think I always felt like I got really good sort of training as an undergraduate at the University of North Carolina. So I was a math major, and it was a very strong department. And so when I, as you run a lab as a scientist in biomedical research, you deal with a lot of data, and I always felt like I was better set up to do that than some of my colleagues, and I thought that was a real strength of the program, having provided for a really great education, but at the same time, all these other experiences that allow you to be really well-rounded. So, the idea of like going to live alone in another city and find my own apartment, all that stuff, I was all able to do all of that after, because this experience makes you so independent. After the 4 summer experiences, I traveled around like Nepal or something on my own for, when I was like 20 years old. So after that, living in Boston by myself was not a big deal. So I think it was both a great education from the University of North Carolina, plus this, independence and autonomy and, rich life experiences you get from the Morehead program. And lastly, I'd say is just the great people. These friends you make as a Morehead stick with you for life, and they become colleagues, and they're super important and famous people that you then rely on for, your sort of network of friends as you become an established professional. So it was, the education, the autonomy, and the people.
And Dr. Sharpless, if you could keep the microphone for a second, question for everybody, and we could work our way down. Where was the farthest you traveled as a result of the Morehead-Cain, and what did you do there?
Yeah, I went to, so in my 3rd year, I worked for Pan American Airlines, which is a defunct airlines. But it was great because it's a big building right in the middle of Manhattan. So that's a really wonderful place to live. And one of the perks of working for Pan Am is you could travel anywhere they flew for very cheaply. So at the end of the summer, all of us, there were 4 Moreheads, we all went to Kenya together, which is pretty good. And then the next summer, on my kind of wandering around the world summer, I actually went to Tibet, and which was even more interesting than Kenya. So I really traveled thanks to the Morehead Foundation.
Hey y'all, again, I'm Ray Sawyer, better known as Penelope's dad. Fun fact, I never got on an airplane before getting the Morehead-Cain Scholarship. And so the first place I went from was rural North Carolina and eastern North Carolina to Alaska for nose backpacking. I think the furthest I went with the program was Masaka, Uganda. I was volunteering with the aid support organization for a summer. Back then we had public service, and that's a phenomenal experience. I could talk all day about that, so catch me afterwards.
Hey, everybody. Wow. I'm Andy Pike, again. Jesse, the farthest I've traveled on the program is probably Isla Robinson Crusoe, which is a small, sort of barely populated island off the coast of Chile, 400 miles off the coast. That was for my travel study summer, where I retraced the steps of Alexander Selkirk, who's the true life Robinson Crusoe. Somehow the foundation let me do that. It was an epic summer. Traveled around with a lot of my Morehead friends throughout South America, but also did a stint in Scotland that summer as well. It was an epic summer for sure.
I was one of the undergraduates victimized by COVID. So if we count alumni trips, London.
We do.
So we do. So then London, even after you graduate, you can continue to engage with the scholarship. And last September, which was during my birthday week, by the way, We had a celebration for our London segment of the program, so I got to go on the trip, and it was a really wonderful, wonderful time just to connect with people across the entire spectrum of the program from when it was first created to now. So it was a really wonderful time.
I'd love to build on that for a second. So we do alumni journeys now where our alumni have the ability to travel in groups to amazing places across the world. We've done 4 trips so far. We've been to Rome. We've done 3 trips so far. We've been to Rome, we've been to London, and we did a trip to the Southeast and retraced civil rights milestones as alumni groups. That was last April. So just another thing that kind of speaks to the lifelong learning that is part of this community. So, sorry, Marina.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see y'all here. The furthest I went as part of my Morehead program was Granada, Spain, where I did a semester abroad. And I guess since I'm last, I get to wax philosophical for a minute. I don't have many regrets about my time with Morehead-Cain. I will say my one regret is I didn't travel further and more. It is an incredible opportunity, and you have no idea how much harder it is to go to Tibet and all these other places when you're working and have kids. And so if I had it to do over again, I would swing for the fences when it comes to travel. So I know you'll probably only remember Penelope, but if you remember one other thing, it is book trips really far away and enjoy them.
Let me add one thing. I will point out, though, that I got some terrible parasite in Tibet. So,
But look, he's still
so
here.
go to the,
Look at him.
go to the travel clinic if you do that. Go far away, but
How much character did that build?
Flagyl is a really good medicine. That's all I gotta say.
Marina, we'll stay with you, and we'll ask other members this question as well. Can you talk about the impact that the alumni community has had on your life since graduation? Perhaps it's as a professional network or advice you've received or something else.
I can talk about it. I will not do it justice. There is no aspect of my life that has not been impacted and shaped directly by the Alumni Network. I remember when I remember getting the acceptance letter for the scholarship, and my dad was a public school teacher, and all I could think of was how much money my family would save not having to pay for college. I sort of thought, that's it, that's the thing. It is such a tiny fraction of the value, and the value that continues to play out year after year after year after year. My husband's a Morehead-Cain. All my closest friends are Moreheads. One of them just walked in. We were in Florida together on a girls' weekend last weekend. It has, every job change, every step along my career path has some connection to someone through the Morehead-Cain network. It's impossible to sum up what an incredibly rich and valuable network it is, and the way it will continue to shape your experience if you take advantage of it and participate in it robustly for the rest of your life. That's it, forever. So there you go. I did my best, Jesse.
You did great.
Okay, thanks.
You crushed it, Marina. Does anybody else have maybe an anecdote about how the alumni community has supported them in their professional or personal journeys?
I mean, yeah, 100%. Like, I got my first job because of a Morehead. Like, this person reached out from Wachovia Bank, which is no longer in existence, but their group at the time needed another analyst and shot a note to the former head of the foundation, and it got disseminated, and it was like, hey, anybody in class of '04 looking for a job still? And I was like, yeah, I am. And lo and behold, I'm still in Charlotte, still in commercial real estate finance. So yeah, the connections, like, without a doubt, are like invaluable for the most part. And then also, during COVID, my cohort of friends from undergrad and Morehead-Cains, we initiated a Tar Heel Third Thursday, Zoom session. We just started to rekindle it. It kind of got by the wayside, but we've kicked that back up to just touch base once a month.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
So I'm recently graduated, so I think the long-term career connections that you get, I haven't gotten to take advantage of too much, but don't hold your breath because I will be reaching out. For me, it's actually about inspiration, and I think that that's one of the biggest things that I've gotten from interactions with the alumni community is it genuinely is a group of people who are so excited to just learn and engage, and I think as you go through life, you realize how special that is, and that it's something that you don't encounter everywhere. And I can think of so many events where I've come out and I've thought, well, maybe I should sign up for a sewing class, or maybe I should go back to school, or maybe I should keep trying to do new things, because you're so inspired by, I think, like the intelligence, the drive, the ambition, I think the kindness of the people around you, and it pushes you to want to continue to improve as well. And yeah, I think to have that kind of community is so special, and actually one of the things that I feel the luckiest to have as someone who was a Morehead.
I'm gonna get into, because this is too good a question to pass up. Man. So you think about, yes, the jobs, absolutely. I think about when I was interviewing for business school, there was an alum who said, hey, you're gonna be in my city, I won't be there that weekend, here's the code, now you got somewhere to stay, you don't gotta worry about a hotel. And it was just like that. I think about the countless amount of parenting advice I get from people that helps me understand how to navigate this new reality. I think about the cousins, that's how we call each other, who have actually morphed into big sisters. And some of those people are sitting in the room, I'm not gonna call them out because we're not here to cry. The most important thing is people who can see the good in you that you don't necessarily see in yourself. I haven't met all of y'all, but I imagine that you are highly successful, and you're probably really good at identifying the things that you could be doing better. Identifying the thing that you got 99, but you didn't get 100. And I think that this community will force you to celebrate yourself, because you got somebody else who's seeing it from a different vantage point. And when I want to downplay something I did, they're like, nah, Ray, you actually knocked that out of the park. Take a moment and celebrate yourself. And I think that's something that gives us fuel to go on later. The last thing I'll say is there's a gentleman named Steve Tobin. I've probably told this story a lot of times, but I was at a kind of a UNC gathering on the West Coast. We were about to watch a basketball game. And it was cool. We were at this spot, and you know, it's a lot of music and there's food and there's drinks and everyone's small talking. And he's introducing himself to me, and he's asking me about myself. And I'm giving my normal spiel, happy hour, shake hands type of thing. And he says, Ray, I apologize. Could we go sit in the other room so I could hear you better? I was like, hold on. I thought we was here to small talk. But he actually cared about what I was saying enough that he wanted to put himself in the environment to pay attention. And so he's kind of now Penelope's adopted grandfather. And it evolved from that. And so that's the type of community you have access to.
Awesome. That's great. And Ray, keep the mic for a second, and then maybe come this way to Dr. Sharpless. We've talked about travel, right, and the possibilities that exist, you know, across the world. I'd love to hear more about your 4 years as Morehead-Cain on campus. What's a feeling or moment that comes to mind when you think about your time here in Chapel Hill?
The most salient moment for me is playing Capture the Flag on the main quad my first semester at Carolina. And me and all of my classmates out there split up into two teams. I still have my high school football energy so I could run around. But I just remember that moment of us all focused on one goal together. Of course, winning, but having fun. And then seeing us all disperse to different parts of campus. And the reality is those people I was playing Capture the Flag with, I probably wouldn't be interacting with them otherwise based on where they were plugged in campus. But now I have respect and appreciation for every organization, for every class, for every major. I had those people who they weren't just another entity. They were somebody that I had a personal connection with. And so that's the feeling for me is you have this unifying body where you don't have to change who you are. Now you have greater connectivity to places that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, I freshman year lived in Old East Dorm, which is a very easy walk from here. It's the oldest building of a public university in the United States. And it's kind of a creaky dorm, as you can imagine. It was no air conditioning and these little suites. And one of my suite mates was a guy named Hunter Bost, who was also a Morehead. And one of the people I went to Tibet with, and then someone I had lunch with about 2 weeks ago. So became a lifelong friend from meeting like that first day of freshman year and through our combined Morehead stuff. And Carolina is a really fun school. I mean, it was really great being here 4 years. I lived on campus 3 of those 4, and made terrific friends I remember it snowed one year, and this is like before the internet, so they don't cancel class officially in the old days, right? You just had to kind of hope class was going to be canceled the next day. But it was like 6 inches of snow, and we were like, that's pretty much going to shut UNC down. So we all climbed the fence of Keenan Football Stadium and played football in the snow. And I got to quarterback one series of downs, and then I quit. Because it was like, this is the high point of my Carolina career. But it's, it's a really great university, as I said. Terrific education, but also lovely people and a lovely place. And by the way, I would say this is kind of your normal spring weekend in Chapel Hill. Is actually usually the weather's a little better than this, but no, I'm kidding. But it's you can see it's just such a lovely place. I still live here today because I like Chapel Hill so much.
Andy, how about you? What's an on-campus moment, as a Morehead-Cain scholar that comes to mind, or a feeling?
I mean, honestly, well, like coming off of exit 266 from 40, like kind of always getting goosebumps when I'd drive in from Indianapolis. I was from Indy. And like just that feeling of like, oh man, I'm back on campus. Kind of like, this is real. This is awesome. Like, love this place. But I guess I got to think about like rock solid. Like, what is the number one kind of thing about camp? I mean, it's really just like the friends I made, the like stupid stuff we would do sometimes, like getting locked into Davis Library because we didn't leave in time, or like, or like staying up late just talking, or like running, like trail running at night, like I don't know, it was just everything. Like, I don't know, I'm trying not to cry right now, but yeah.
No, it's
like,
great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that our alumni engage back with our current scholar community. They host for private enterprise summers, for global perspectives, for Lovelace Fund. But we also have a mentor-mentee program that as juniors and seniors you can opt into. And I know we have a handful of individuals up here that have participated. Ivana, I know you have served, you were a mentee at one point, is that right? Or you served as a mentor?
I was a mentee.
Yes.
And I was able to talk with them a little bit during the program, but I had a lot of friends who did it multiple years.
Yeah.
Like every year had another mentor.
Can you talk about what you gained from that relationship and maybe how it helped in your scholar journey or your postgraduate journey, which I know has been short so far?
Yeah, well, so my circumstances with my mentor were actually a little interesting because it happened kind of right on the cusp of a couple of things. So I was able to talk with them a couple of times, but things just had to be kind of flexible because of circumstances. If anything, I feel like Montez was more of my mentor, and like he was the one whose office I kind of lived in and talked to the most. But what I did gain, I think, the biggest thing that I think I learned a lot from them and also just alumni in general was that the journey can look very different for everyone. And that sometimes in figuring out what that journey for you is gonna look like, there are ups and downs in trying to decide, well, what do I care about? What do I like? What does ambition mean to me? Because I think, especially as, I think that when you're given the title of like high achiever, you have a very specific view of what it means to be high achieving. And sometimes you have to kind of reframe that for yourself and decide, well, what do I actually care about? What does success look like for me? And especially as someone who was like really interested in the humanities in a family that was like, you should be a doctor or a lawyer. Not that that isn't great, but it was a little tough for me. So it was really great to hear about someone else's journey who thought and like really thought about that and really sat with it.
Marina, you've connected with many current scholars in your time as an alumnus. What are some of the things that you are the most common that you hear, or questions that you hear, and what is something that you always seem to instruct scholars on?
A common sentiment from scholars, I think, is the feeling that they ought to have a lot of things figured out, and a worry that if they don't have things figured out, they're going to miss some opportunity, some door will close, they'll go down one path when they should have been on another, and I think that's a really natural way to feel, but I am perpetually reassuring people in those conversations that an open mind and changing directions and zigzagging all over the place is actually really precisely what you ought to be doing, and questioning, do I still want to do this thing I thought I wanted to do last year, and is it okay to reconsider that? I think you all are, by virtue of the fact that you're sitting in this room, you've done really well at a lot of things, and that comes with some pressure to do what you think is continuing to do really well. And that, like you said, can look a lot of ways. And I mean, my career path has been not zigzag, but like a tangled, jumbled, ball. And it's great. And I sitting here in a million years wouldn't have predicted that trajectory, but everything's worked out great. And so I'm constantly reassuring people, it may not feel like you have all the answers right now, but that's just how it ought to be.
I'm going to open it up for a couple of questions before we break into Human Library, but before that, a question for the whole panel, and maybe Marina will start with you and then end with Dr. Sharpless. Your favorite event or initiative that you've participated in as a Morehead-Cain alumnus?
Whoa, that's a hard question. I have to go first, huh? My favorite event, I have to say, the dinners and the parties were really fun. Senior dinner, I should probably say something more highbrow. I'm going to leave that to the rest of the panel. But it's just really, really fun to get to spend 4 years in this place with such incredibly high caliber people. And there are just so many, so much from the community and the social part of it that honestly, I'm sure I should be running through my resume and remembering all the committees I was on and all the events I helped plan. But I just loved having fun and getting to be friends with the people in my class and in the classes around me. And I am doing my very best to keep enjoying it to this day.
How about you? Is it the London trip or as an alum, or?
And do we mean specifically sponsored by the Morehead, or we got to attend because of resources from?
Yes.
So, so one of the organizations that I worked with a lot as an undergrad was Southern Futures, which is under CSAS, so the Center for the Study of the American South, which is a nonprofit that UNC has. Southern Futures is a really, really small program. I had my boss, Corbin, and then there was me. And because I had funding for the Morehead, not only could I work with them during the school year, but during the summer too. And it was so amazing because it was an organization that did so many different things. It was, its goal was to invest in the future of the South. And that sounds really vague, but it means that we did grant funding. We worked with local community organizations to host events. They now have undergraduate scholar cohorts that they give money to that allows them to take on projects. I got to be on the podcast where Tracy Dion, I don't know if anyone's read Legend Born, but she was on a podcast episode sponsored by this organization, and I got to film some of the excerpts reading her book I got to meet her. So it was just amazing. I learned so much. I got to read grant applications, meet so many different people, listen to oral histories. To this day, I think one of the best organizations that I've ever worked with, and also she was just such a believer in work-life balance, and I've taken so many of those lessons into my current career. So definitely that, I think.
Well, I feel like I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit, but Alumni Forum.
Alumni Forum.
So
Can you tell everybody what Alumni Forum is?
Every 3 years, the foundation puts together basically a symposium/conference/ reunion, where alumni and current scholars all come together for a weekend of lectures, talks, panel discussion about current topics, and it's really a chance for everyone to come back to campus and kind of rekindle friendships and meet current scholars, meet old classmates. It's a lot of fun. And I've never been to a high school class reunion, but it turns into my class reunion, Morehead class reunion. It's a lot of fun.
Great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
little plug there.
Yeah, no, October 17th and 19th this year, we'll have about 600 alumni and guests back on campus for alumni forum. So. Can I say one more thing? Oh, yeah, go for it.
There's also another program called Morehead Symposium, which is, I haven't been to one yet. It's relatively new, but I'm waiting for the ski trip version of Morehead Symposium.
Noting it, making note, yeah.
Last fall, I had the pleasure of co-leading a celebration of two great individuals. One is Mr. Harvey Kennedy. He graduated in the class of 1974. He was the first black graduate of the Morehead-Cain program. And there's also Justice Karen Stevenson, who was the first black woman graduate, one of the first Rhodes Scholars from the US. And I won't tell you their biographies, but if you get some time, please look them up. I love it because I got the privilege of working with a small group of people to bring together our scholar community, our alumni community, in a sense of celebration at a time where celebration hasn't become quite as common as it needs to be. The reason I bring it up now is because I think that's a reflection of Morehead-Cain, that you actually have the agency and the encouragement to create the environment that you want to be in. If there's a part of your existence, if there's a part of your identity, if there's a part of your journey that you want to make sure takes up more space, do it. And you got the resources, you got the people behind you. And so that was just a wonderful example. And we're still reaping the benefits of that event even now. And if you ask me 50 years from now, I still think that would be one of the highlights that I have from this program.
Yeah, these are all such wonderful examples. Mine is a little more lowbrow, but I think it's equally worth sharing. When I was a medical resident, I was in Boston, and there were about 5 or 6 Morehead alumni who were medical residents at the various Harvard hospitals. And we were, kind of friends and would see each other at parties and things like that. And every year we would kind of get together to watch the Carolina-Duke basketball game. And we would get barbecue, North Carolina barbecue, which in Boston is like really hard to find. And it's actually really bad, but we still did it just for tradition. And we would watch Carolina play Duke every year and throw stuff at the TV. And some years we win, some years we lose. And I remember one year, Carolina was like number 2 in the country, and Duke was like number 5 in the country. And we get in front of it, and this one was at my apartment. So we get in front of the TV. There are like 6 of us. We're unwrapping our barbecue, and we turn on the TV, and they have preempted the best basketball game in the United States for candlepins bowling. Which, if you guys know what that is, that's like not even a sport. It's like a fake sport. It's like you roll this little ball and it knocks down pins, and it's a New England thing. And we were like, what the? So we all picked up our barbecue and went to some sports bar that had a satellite and watched it there. But it was it was just that community that we created that stayed with us. Because when you're a resident, you're working these like 80-hour weeks, and it's kind of a grinding life. And to have these friends from another life was just really key to staying sane during that period.
Thank you all so much for the thoughtful answers. Would love to open it up for a couple of questions from the crowd before breaking into human library. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Corey. What would you say, or what summer gave you the skills that you would say you use the most post-graduation?
I think I've answered this, so I'll pass it on. I mean, the autonomy of just being independent, wandering around a foreign country is an extremely useful skill, so I'll pass on.
So that summer I spent in Uganda working in an aid support organization. Before that, I was a pharmacy major. I was going to go into research pharmacy, find a cure for exercise-induced asthma. And as I was working in that pharmacy at the aid support organization, I started seeing people coming up, getting the medication, and that's where I learned that there was more to medicine than just doctors and access to pills, but there was this social and there was this cultural component. As I heard about people's everyday life and the support they may or may not have in their local communities. And so I came back to Carolina and I changed my major to global studies. And that's really the rest of my career. I've been tapping into the humanity behind whatever industry, whatever job I'm focused on. And so that summer unlocked for me that it's not just what I read about in the book, it's not what makes logical sense, but there's humans on the other side of what we do.
For me, outdoor leadership. So Outward Bound it was Outward Bound for me. I think Knowles is another program. But I spent 3 weeks in Southeast Utah. I'd never been out west, had never seen the red rocks or anything like that. It was just like mind blowing. But really, it was like the notion of getting rid of all the superfluous stuff that you have daily, daily conveniences. We didn't have cell phones back then. At least I didn't. Mom and Dad wouldn't allow that. But being out in the wilderness for 3 weeks with other people that, my age, who also were in this new, newfangled, you had nothing except the backpack, your sleeping bag, a water bottle. It was just awesome. I had been camping before, but never been truly backpacking. And I think it just kind of opened my mind up to trying to discover new things about myself with just the bare bones. And I think that helped to parlay my next summers, my Carolina experience and beyond with sort of the notion that if I can survive this, what can I not do, if that makes sense?
My Civic Collab summer, I think, is one of the ones that I learned the most from. I, with a group of people, were in Albuquerque. We were working with the mayor's office on sustainability, which was not really an area that I had a lot of experience or knowledge about. And one of the major things that I got from that summer, I think, is not only just working with ambiguity, learning how to dive into a larger project that's going to be there before and after you, but I think also having a willingness to be uncomfortable or maybe even to feel a little stupid sometimes, hey, I don't know what this is and I don't understand this, and maybe it would be obvious to other people, but it's not to me. And I think being willing to engage on that level in good faith to learn and to help the project or to help your peers is something that's so important, because I think one of the wonderful things about the Morehead is that it pushes you to be uncomfortable sometimes. And it's important to be uncomfortable because that's where you learn and that's where you grow. And I don't know if that's something that I would have sought out if I wasn't pushed to do it, but in hindsight, I'm glad that I was. And now I'm in work meetings, and I'm the first one to ask a question, even if I feel like I'm the only one that maybe needs it answered, because I think that's just an important stance to take in anything.
I'll just say briefly, I will answer with a thread that ran through all my summers, and I think building on what you said, which is from one summer to the next, from the outdoor leadership all the way through to the end. Our last summer, I was traveling by myself in the Dominican Republic. It was, you really build a strong problem-solving muscle, and that will serve you in so many ways. And so, every one of us and everyone in the alumni network has these hugely different experiences, but what all of them do is, to your point, force you into an uncomfortable situation and allow you to realize that you can figure it out. And I'm grateful for all my summers and all the things I got to do, but I'm especially grateful that when I left Carolina, I was pretty fearless about what challenges I could take on, because I had been pushed to take on a lot of things where I was really uncomfortable, and I did it. And that was a really good lesson to learn over and over and over again through the progression of summers.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. We'll do one more question before breaking into human library.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Douglas. And one thing that I've heard from all of you, and I've seen as a motive, is that people are one of the most important parts of the Morehead-Cain. So the connections you made are very important for who you're going to become in the future. And I wanted to ask for you, what was the most significant connection or friendship or relationship that you built through the Morehead-Cain? And how did that change you in a sense, and how important that was for your experience, both as a scholar and as an alumni? My husband.
That's not fair.
I mean, I have to say that, right? It's hard to, I think it's, yes, I'm going to go with my husband. I also think it's really like a tapestry, right? It is not one relationship, one thing. It is that it is that you will move, as a Morehead-Cain, you will move through this university for 4 years or however long you're here as part of a really extraordinary community of people who are going to constantly be challenging you, inspiring you, making you think about things differently, and to get to be one little thread in that tapestry is just an incredible privilege.
I have mine. He's in the room. Don't get a big head when I say this. Montez was mine. So he's one of the scholar advisors. I think academically UNC was, I think that's a journey, but I think also personally sometimes we go through things in life. And one of the really wonderful things about the Morehead is I think they care about you not only as an achiever or as a scholar, but as a person. And that's so special, and I think, I'm not gonna tear up. If I tear up, I'm leaving. I had some really hard years personally during college, and I, to this day, am so grateful and will never forget how kind the foundation was to me and the things that, like, they went out of their way to help me beyond what they were required to. Oh my God, I'm crying. And it meant so much to me, and even now, I think reminders not only to be achieving and to go out, but I think also that there's so much kindness in the world, and sometimes you need that as a person, and you need it in the times that we're in, and I think that's something really special.
I'm 100% dittoing Marnie's comment or notion of like the tapestry. I mean, it really is like a.
Oh, I thought you were going to say her husband.
He's a great guy. Made a big impact.
We roomed together for like 2 weeks in my DC summer. Like, yeah, he's a great guy. No, but I was just gonna say it's kind of a wicked web that's been woven. I mean, you'll encounter Moreheads anywhere. Like my doctor had no idea, but she was a Morehead, like my primary care. I just happened, like, I needed a doctor in Charlotte, and thought I had glass in my finger, and so I was like, I need a doctor. And sitting, waiting for the doctor to come in, I look over on the wall and I see, oh, her UNC diploma, and then I look at the next thing below, and it's like, oh my God, she was a Morehead scholar. What? This is crazy. Dr. Teague, I don't know, did I just violate HIPAA? I don't know. Is that reverse HIPAA? That would be awkward. Yeah. But it really is, like, I mean, like I said earlier, my first job out of school was because of a Morehead. And it's the connections, it's the willingness and the sort of the give back mentality that I think the Alumni Network does have, that continues the connection that you build on campus into the world. It's amazing. I think it is.
I imagine over these next few days you will hear so much about how much you gain as a result of the Morehead-Cain Scholarship. You should pay attention to all that stuff because it's a lot, and I want you to maximize the experience. But the person that I bring up is my oldest brother. He was a Morehead-Cain scholar, and I got to watch his experience as a little kid, and that inspired me to want to come to UNC, to want to pursue this scholarship. I bring that up because over these next few days, also consider what you can contribute to this community. And you don't have to wait until you graduate. You don't have to wait until you're a second-year student. You don't have to wait until you've even taken your first UNC class. Who you are right now is something of value to contribute to the community. And so my brother is a reflection of me, of how he gave something even as he was gaining from other places.
Yeah, I really don't have much to add to the tapestry concept. I mean, I have bumped into, I think I actually met my wife through a Morehead connection, believe it or not. She wasn't a Morehead, but she was a friend of a friend. So, I mean, it really just, I was talking to a venture capitalist recently as a biotech investor, and he turned out to be a Morehead fan. It's like, what? So, I mean, they're everywhere. And they come up in your life, and you have this instant kind of, oh, wow, what year? So it's really, as I said, a wonderful community.
Well, Marina, Ivana, Andy, Ray, Penelope, Dr. Sharpless, thank you so much. I'd love to now break into our our human library, please spend the next 30 to 45 minutes finding an alum in the room, asking them questions, whether it's about their professional experience, their personal experience, their Morehead-Cain experience. And thank you so much for being here, and enjoy this time together.